I'd like to talk about big versus smooth. And one of the issues with uh, big, and let me describe big to start with. Big is when you do something and you're going to make it the biggest, most spectacular movement possible. And it's built to impress. And big tends to be kind of a head and ego driven sort of approach to movement. And what I'd like to stress, especially today, is that I'd like to stress smooth instead of big. Smooth is much more of a full body feeling of movement instead of a head and ego driven approach to movement. So, what we're going to focus on today is a bunch of different movements that hopefully will feel really good and will develop some additional strength, some additional range of motion in what you can do. So, let me just take one more break here, see what is going on with the chat. Rini says she pushed the go arrow. In order to make that work. Hopefully everyone's connected. It seems like it. I'm showing 6 connections right now. So let's get started. So hopefully you can all see me here. This is a very bare bones setup here for doing a YouTube live stream. I've got my Chromebook right here. It's doing the audio and the video. I have another Chromebook down here, which is showing me the time, so I make sure that I stay within borders. Now, I'm showing it's 1:18 right now, so hopefully it's going to be okay if we roll a little bit over our 2 o'clock time slot. And I'm sorry for the confusion early on. We'll clean that up next time. So let's begin. So standing mountain, feet about hip width apart, knees slightly bent, normal stance. And let's come find our breath and pay attention to our breath. So we'll just do a few inhale, exhales, inhale, exhale. Feel the weight in your feet. We're going to bring our attention to 3 points on each foot. We're going to pay attention to the base of the big toe, base of the pinky, the center of the heel. So find those 3 points on each foot and try and balance out your weight on all 3 points. And then let's come back to our breath. And on the next inhale, I'd like you to lift the big toe point. So the inner part of the foot lifts up. So the foot is weighted on the heel and the outer edge of the foot. And on the next breath, roll the feet in and lift the outer edge of the foot, the pinky point. So we're going to roll each breath. Inhale, roll. So you're on the outer edge. Exhale, roll to the inner edge. Inhale, outer edge. Inhale, roll to the inner edge. So let's do a few of those. Each breath cycle, slowly shift and lift either the inner or the outer edge of the foot. Hopefully you can see my feet. And the next exhale, let's bring our weight back, balance on all 3 points. And I'd like you to next lift the heels a tiny bit. Really, it's just an unweight. You can feel the mat underneath your heel, but no weight on it. And then we're slowly going to do the same movement. It won't be as big. Inhale, lift the big toe points so you're on the outer edge of the foot. Exhale, shift that over so the weight is on the big toe point and the outer edge is lifted. Inhale, roll to the outer edge. Exhale, roll to the inner edge. If this doesn't feel good, bring the heels down and balance between 2 points. And the next exhale, come back to center and release. Take a little breath. We're going to do one more movement with the feet just to get them woken up. And what we're going to do is we're going to start to bring the toes in to the action here. What we're going to do is we're going to shift our weight to one side. When the weight comes over to the side, the toes on that side of the body are going to push down strongly into the mat and push us over to the other side. At the other side, in my case, my right toes are going to push in and push me over to the other direction. These toes push down. These toes push down. So the toes are going to just help us swing the body weight side to side. So the toes push down. Once the movement is started, they release. Right foot, toes down, release. Left foot, toes down, release. Nice. And let's come back to center and release. So, take a little break. And just feel what your feet feel like. We've done a little bit of intense workout there. They probably should have a little bit of energy now. Lower legs, feet should be woken up a little bit. So we're going to shift our attention up a little higher into the hamstrings and then into the lower back. What we're going to do in terms of the hamstrings is we're going to look at a back position that I call a long back or an extended back. There's a couple of ways to do that. The easiest way is to simply bend the knees a little bit, sideways view, a little bit of bend in the knees, and then lift the hands up. Exhale down. Inhale up. Exhale down. So your gaze is going to follow your hands. So as the hands go up, your head tilts up, hands come down, head tilts down. So we'll get the neck involved in this thing. Inhale up, exhale down. Keep those knees bent the entire time. And the next time your hands are up, I'd like you to pause there and notice what you feel in the back. Notice the back position that you have. Keep that back position and slowly bring your hands down behind your back. So keep the same back position. So this is a long back position. your butt is out a little bit. You've got a nice curve all the way from your butt up through the back of the skull. So you've got a nice arched long back. That back position is something we're going to come back to here a couple different ways. We're going to look at a different way to get into a long back position, and that's going to involve kind of doing a partial squat. So hopefully you can see this okay. So what we're going to do is we're just going to drop the knees down towards the ground, and we're going to watch the pelvis. At some point, the pelvis, here's a pelvis. At some point, as the knees drop down, the pelvis is going to tilt forward. And then as we come up, it'll straighten. So this block is kind of mimicking what will happen with your pelvis as you drop your knees down. So let's do this from the side so you can see. Nice long back, drop the knees. And in my case, the pelvis starts to tilt right away, but it gets more intense right here. So I'd like you to just drop the knees down. Notice when the pelvis starts to tilt forward. And when you come up, release everything so that you're in a relaxed standing state. Exhale down. Inhale up. Exhale down. Inhale up. So when you exhale down, there's that nice long back again. So kind of figure out how to get into that long back. And we're going to do a little bit of forward flexion using a long back. So let's turn sideways again so you can see some of the angles. So here's what we're going to do for forward flexion. We're going to do very shallow forward flexions to start with. I'm going to bring my hands behind the back because I find that it helps in terms of getting a long back. So starting with a long back, stick your butt out a little bit of bend in the knees, and then the movement is just going to take place right here at the hip joints, just like this. And then as you come up, release everything so that you're in a relaxed standing position. So we bend the knees, we have a long back, we flex forward just a tiny little bit, come all the way out and release. So that's what we're going to do a couple of times. Very shallow forward flexions. And the breath work here is going to be exhale as you bend the knees and then flex forward. Inhale up and release. Exhale, knees bend a little. Forward flexion. Inhale and release. So we'll engage everything on the way down. On the way up, we'll release. Engage on the inhale. Release. So we're doing some pretty shallow forward flexions here. If you would like to experiment a little bit and you're feeling okay, your back feels good, you can experiment with a deeper forward flexion. So again, exhale, you bend the knees a little bit and then come down into a deeper forward flexion. Come back up on the inhale and release at the top so that you're relaxed. Little knee bend, deeper forward flexion. Come back up on the inhale. Now, if you are coming down deep and you notice that the back is starting to curve or you're losing that nice long back, that's where you stop in terms of your degree of forward flexion. So in this case, the form is much more important than making a big movement. So do one or two more forward flexions. and we'll move on. So release, come on out. And we're going to add a little bit, we're going to continue with a shallow forward flexion, but we're going to add a little bit of a spinal twist and a little bit of movement here in the hip joints. Let me see if I can figure out what angle would work best to show this. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to start with that long back, a little bit of bend in the knees. We're going to do a very shallow forward flexion. And then we're going to move one knee forward, one knee back. Then we're going to reverse that. Then we're going to come back to center. And we're going to come up and release. So let's do a couple of those slowly together, and then we'll add the breath work in. So we exhale, we bend the knees a little shallow forward flexion. Let me do side by side here. Knees come forward, a little forward flexion. One knee forward, one knee back. Reverse that, so the back knee moves forward. Come back to center. Come on up. Actually, I think maybe a 3/4 view might work a little better. Let's look at the breath work for this. So we'll exhale, bend the knees, flex a little bit. Inhale, one knee forward, the other knee back. Exhale, reverse those knees. Inhale, back to center. Come on up and release. Let's do one more with the breath work, and then I'll cut you loose and you'll do a few on your own. Exhale, knees bent, a little forward flexion. Inhale, one knee forward, one knee back. Exhale, reverse the knees. Inhale, back to center. Come on up and release. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. And release. So let's do 3 more on your own. And release. And take a little time here just to move around a little bit and feel what you can feel in terms of muscle heat, muscle energy. I've had a little bit of problems with my middle back, and so I'm feeling some tension here, some energy here, and feels good. Feels good to move. So we're going to do a little variation on that. What we're going to do is we're going to add a bigger spinal twist to that movement. So the torso is going to follow the movement of the hips, but exaggerated a little bit more. This is what it'll look like. So we'll start with that long back, slight knee bend, come forward with this. And as we push the knees forward, so in this case, my left knee is moving forward, right knee is moving back. So notice that the hips start to twist to the right. I'm going to exaggerate that twist with the torso and add to it. So the torso twists a little bit more deeply. Then I reverse that and I add to the pelvic twist by twisting up the spine. Come back to center, come all the way out. So let's do that a couple times together. Exhale, forward flexion. Inhale, add that spinal twist. Inhale, that's an exhale. Inhale back to center. Come on up and release. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. And release. Let's do 2 more. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. And release. Let's do 1 more on your own. All right. We're going to go into a constructive rest pose, and hopefully you can see me okay from there. Bring that down a little bit. A very sophisticated, fancy system here I'm using. So, constructive rest pose. There we go. So, both feet on the ground, head resting on the mat. And let's begin by just finding our breath and just breathing for a couple of breath cycles, and just let yourself relax into the mat. And notice what sort of muscle energy you may feel from what we've done so far. And let's bring our attention back to our breath. And let's bring the thighs vertical. Let the feet from the knee down just loose. It just dangles. Thighs vertical. And I'd like you to interlace your hands and bring them behind your head. And then on an inhale, we're going to move one knee one direction, one knee the other direction. So in this case, my left knee is moving towards my chest. My right knee is moving away until my foot taps on the ground. On the next breath cycle, reverse that. Right knee comes in, left knee moves out. So each breath cycle, there's an inhale, there's an exhale, there's an inhale. So each breath cycle, your legs will move from a close to the chest position to an away from the chest position in the length of time it takes you to do an inhale or an exhale. In my case, I'm about 3 to 4 seconds. So it should take about 3 to 4 seconds to move from one knee location to the other. So we'll continue this movement for a little bit. I'd like you to pay attention to what you feel as you do this movement. And one more movement and release. And I'd like you to just relax and feel whatever it is you feel are the effects from that movement. Some of the times people will say, well, they feel most of the muscle heat on the upper thighs, but oftentimes what they'll find is that as they sit and relax, that the movement shifts and it becomes much more of a feeling in the lower torso. And that's what I find also, is that I may start with feeling here in the upper thigh, but it does move into the lower torso fairly quickly. So I'm going to shift around a little bit so you can see a little more clearly. We're going to come into a spinal twist. Again, bring both thighs vertical, and then on an exhale, take both knees off to one side. Inhale back to center. Exhale to the other side. Inhale to center. Exhale to side. Inhale to center. So I'm going to let you do a couple of these on your own. I want you to pay attention to the pelvis rocking back and forth. And can you feel the pressure point as the knees move side to side, the pressure on the back of the pelvis? And let's come back to center and release. Notice the feeling that you have on the back of the pelvis from rocking back and forth. And also notice you probably feel some muscle heat from the lower torso from the movement. We're going to do a little variation on that movement. And what we're going to do is we're going to start with the thighs vertical. But instead of taking both knees to one side, we're just going to take one knee to the side. So in this case, my left knee is going to go out to the side. My right knee is going to push up towards the ceiling. I'm going to come back to center, and then I'm going to reverse that. The right knee falls off to the side. Left knee pushes up, back to center. So the breath work here is exhale as the knee comes down. Inhale, back to center. Exhale, the other knee comes down. Inhale, back to center. So let's do a few of those right now. I want you to notice as you do this movement that the knee that's vertical pushes up towards the ceiling. And I also want you to notice how far the pelvis rocks back and forth. And the next time we have both knees at center, go ahead and release. Bring your feet back to the ground and relax. And again, notice what sort of muscle energy you feel. That movement requires some pretty good strength in the obliques, down in the lower part of the torso. Also requires some decent strength on the inner side, the medial side of the thighs. So we're going to do a little variation on that particular movement, and we're going to bring one knee to the side, and then we're going to straighten that leg. Bring it back, come back to center. So let's go to the other side. Knee falls to the side, that leg straightens, and the foot tends towards your head. Bend that knee again,
Bring it back up. Exhale as the leg comes to the side and straightens. Inhale as the leg comes back. Exhale down, leg straightens. Inhale back. And release. All right. We're going to do one more movement in this series, and that is going to be a big leg swing, a big 180-degree leg swing. And what we're going to do is we're going to start in the same basic movement as we just did. However, once we have the leg out to the side, we're going to swing it in a big 180-degree arc. We're going to swing it all the way back in a 180-degree arc. We're going to bring the knee back into position. So let's do that together. I'll call it out, and hopefully you can see my leg movement if you need a visual clue. So let's start with the thighs vertical. And I'm going to start with my left leg. So left leg goes down towards the ground. The left leg straightens. And then I swing that left leg all the way around in a big 180-degree arc. And I pause there. And then I swing it all the way back, 180 degrees, bend at the knee, come back to center. So here's the breath work. Exhale as the knee falls to the side and the leg straightens. Inhale as the leg comes down towards the center of the arc. Exhale as it comes around to the side. Inhale back to the center. Exhale to the side. Inhale back up. So that's a lot of breath work, a lot of movement. Let's do it together here. Exhale, knee comes down to the side. Inhale as it comes to the center. Exhale to the other side. Inhale back to the center. Exhale to the side. Inhale back up. Exhale down. Inhale to center. Exhale to the side. Inhale back to center. Exhale to the side. Inhale back up. And release. All right. Take a moment and just feel what you feel from that movement. That's a big, complex movement with all kinds of parts moving, and typically lights up a lot of the body, especially from the diaphragm down to about the knees. It really creates a whole lot of energy in the body from doing that sort of a big, complex movement with lots of parts swinging in unison. So what we're going to move on to next is going to be from a table position, and we're going to do some movements from there, and let's get started. So table, we want to have our thighs vertical and our hands a little bit out. So most classes teach the arms should be vertical. I prefer a longer table because it's a little easier to move into different positions with a little bit of an angle here from your shoulder down to your wrist. So notice that angle there. My hands are a bit forward. So from this position, what we're going to do is we're going to extend one leg straight back, and then we're going to come down. And then the other leg straight back and down. And the breath work, inhale as we lift, exhale as we come down, inhale the other side, exhale down, inhale up, exhale down, And we're going to add a little bit of a knee bend. So inhale up and bend at the knee. Exhale, straighten the leg, bring it down. Inhale, leg straight, bend at the knee. Exhale as you straighten the knee and bring it down. Inhale up. Exhale down. Inhale up. Exhale down. And release. All right. So what we're going to move on to next is a little bit of movement in the hip joint that is going to be produced by the glutes. We've done a little bit of work with the glutes, so this is going to be a little more intense. What we're going to do is we're going to start in that same long table position. We're going to take, in my case, the right leg straight out, and then we're going to find the iliac crest here, the hip bone right here on the right side, the lifted side, and we're going to lift it up towards the ceiling. And we're going to keep this leg, the lifted leg, parallel to the ground. Then we're going to drop that hip bone down to the ground, lift it up again, drop it down, lift it up, drop it down, bring that leg down. So we're going to do a lift, drop, lift, drop, lift, drop. So 3 lifts, 3 drops on each side, and then we'll come back down to table position. So that was my right leg. Let's come to the left leg. So left leg, we bring it straight out, we lift, we drop that hip down, we lift, we drop the hip down, we lift, drop the hip down, come all the way down. Let's do one more each side. So the right leg comes out straight, lift the right hip bone up towards the ceiling. So you're rotating, in this case, you're rotating on this left hip joint. Hip comes up, bring it down. Hip comes up, bring it down. Hip comes up, down, bring the knee down, and let's go to the second side. So leg straight out, lift the hip, drop that hip down, lift the hip, drop it down. One more. And come all the way down. So we're going to do a movement right now that will mirror when we come up into a standing position. And what we're going to do is we're going to do a side flexion, and this is what it's going to look like. So we start again in table. We're going to take the right leg straight back. We're going to lift the right hip up, and then we're going to move the body, and I'm going to run into the wall, so I'm going to have to move a little bit. Let's do that again. Right leg straight back. We're going to lift at the right hip, same movement that we just did, and we're going to take the body back, come back to vertical, bring that knee down. Left leg straight out, lift that hip up towards the ceiling, bring the body back, come back to vertical, bring the knee down. Now, if this does not feel good, you can do the regular hip lift, hip drop, and bring the knee down. But if this feels okay for you, let's do a few more. So one leg out to the side, lift that hip up towards the ceiling, bring the hips back, Come back to vertical. Bring the knee down. Other side. Hip lifts. Bring the body weight back towards the heels. Come back to vertical. Let's do one more each side. And release. And I'd like you to just take a moment and relax. Get back in touch with your breath and just feel what you feel. That's a fairly intense movement centered on the hip joint. And you'll probably feel some nice energy in the area of the hips. We're going to do one more movement in that kind of series with the hip lifting up in the sky. And we're going to tie it into a sideways knee lift. So this is what it's going to look like. And I'm going to angle a little bit. It might be a little easier to see. So we're going to take a leg back. No, I'm sorry. Think of the wrong movement. Here's what we're going to do. From table, lift one knee straight to the side and bring it down. And then the other knee straight to the side, bring it down. Right knee up, left knee down. I'm sorry, left knee up, left knee down. You will want to watch your arms here so that you're not bending the arms as the knee lifts. Okay. What we're going to do next is we're going to lift the knee to the side, and then we're going to take this leg and extend it back and away so that the hip lifts. That's that same hip lift we've been doing. That hip is going to lift. The foot comes way across the body, and it extends way onto the other side. So my right foot is way over and, in fact, is touching that back wall behind me. Bring the knee back, bring it down. Let's see if this looks any better straight on, if that makes any better sense. Knee comes up, that leg shoots way across, way to the other side. Hip is lifted way up. Bring the knee back and down. Let's do the right foot, right leg. Knee comes up. Leg shoots across. Knee comes back and down. Move out a little bit more. Left leg. Notice the lift in the hip. Notice the foot swinging across the body. Notice that big, long extension on the left side of the body. Bring the knee back and down. Hip lifts, leg extends, big long extension on the right side of the body, and come down. Let's do one more on our own, each side. And release. All right. I think what we'll do is we'll move into a standing position. We'll do a few movements from standing position, and then we'll take a bit of time to do some breath work and some relaxation. So let's come into a
standing position. There we go. What we're going to start with is a little bit of a foot movement, and we're going to take a look at twists around the hip joint. So I'm going to take my right foot out to the side and just put it down so my toes are on the mat. Then I'm going to move the right foot forward so that it's somewhere in front of my planted left foot. And notice the twisting of the pelvis here. So the pelvis is now facing off towards the left. Come back to the side, and then bring the foot behind. And again, notice the twisting of the pelvis. Come back to the side, forward. And this time I want you to notice what's going on in the upper thigh, in this case of my left leg, the planted leg. There's a big twist up the leg, hip joint, upper thigh, all of it is twisted. And then come to the back side. And again, we reverse that twist in the hip joint and the upper thigh. Come back to the side and release. So let's do the other side. Foot to the side. Bring that foot forward. Notice the pelvis angling out to the side. Back to center. Bring the foot behind. Foot to the side. Foot forward. Notice the twist in the thigh and the hip joint. Come back to the side. One more. Forward. To the side. And back. And release. So what we're going to do is add a little bit to that basic movement. And what we're going to do is we're going to start with what we're going to call a crisscross stance. So we're going to take my right leg and we're going to take it across the body like this and come down. And we take the left leg across the body and down. Right leg, down, left leg, down. So let's add one little bit of to the puzzle here. We're going to take the opposite arm and just touch the outside of the thigh as the leg comes across. And down. Opposite arm comes across and just touches the outside of the thigh. So here's the breath work. Inhale as you lift. Exhale down. Inhale, lift. Exhale down. Inhale, lift. Exhale down. You want to keep that nice long back in this movement. Keep that back nice and long. And release. So let's add a couple more bits to this movement. What we're going to do is we're going to start like this with the arm or the leg coming across. Then we're going to take the foot behind and we're going to extend that back leg. So the heel will extend down towards the ground, the leg will lengthen, and what will happen is that the pelvis will twist to the side, and then we'll step out. So here's how it looks put together. Knee comes across, knee comes back, extend that leg, and release to center.
Other leg comes across, leg comes back, and leg extends, and release. Here's the breath work. Inhale as the leg comes up. Exhale, bring the leg back. Inhale, extend that leg. Exhale to center. Inhale, legs up. Exhale, leg back. Inhale, extend that leg. Exhale to center. Let's do that one more each side. I want you to watch the shoulders. As you extend at the back, I'd like you to keep the shoulders parallel with the front of the mat. In my case, mat right here. What that's going to do is it's going to add a little bit of twist to the spine as the pelvis rotates. So here we go. Inhale up. Exhale, foot back. Inhale, extend that leg. Keep the shoulders parallel with the front of your mat. Exhale out. Inhale up. Exhale back. Inhale, extend the back leg. Exhale out. One more each side. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale, extend the leg. Shoulders stay parallel to the front. Exhale out. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. We're going to add one more piece to this puzzle, to this little dance routine we started. And what we're going to do is add a little bit of a forward flexion when the foot is back. So this is what it's going to look like. I'm going to turn sideways so you can see this a little bit better. So I'm going to start with my left leg coming across. So the left leg comes across, comes back. I extend the back leg, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to tilt forward from the right hip bone. Just a little bit of a tilt. So notice the torso comes forward, the foot at the back lifts, and then I release. So let's do it on the other side. Let's do this together. Knee comes across, leg comes back, extend that back leg, tilt forward a little bit, and exhale. Let's do a couple more together. Inhale, leg comes across. Exhale, leg goes behind. Inhale as you extend that leg. Exhale as you tilt forward and the back foot lifts a little bit. And release. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. And inhale. Other side. Leg comes across. Leg goes back. Extend that back leg. Tilt forward a little bit with the torso. And release. Let's do one more each side on your own. I'll be quiet so you can do it on your own. And release. So we're going to do a little bit of Shavasana, do a little breath work, do a little relaxation. So find a comfortable position.
I'm going to sit here so you can hear me, and there's really nothing you need to follow in terms of visuals here. So find a comfortable position. If it's flat out on the ground, that's great. If it's a constructive rest pose with your knees bent and feet on the ground, if you prefer to sit, whatever is comfortable for you. What I would like to do is to take a moment and watch our breath and relax every time we do an exhale. So we'll inhale, and I think we'll start with the head. So on the first exhale, focus on your temples, let them relax. So do a couple of breath cycles. Each exhale, focus on the temples relaxing a little further each time you exhale. And then maybe move to the forehead or the jaws and do a couple of breath cycles. Each breath cycle, each exhale, let that part of the body that you're focusing on relax a little bit more each time you exhale. And then, if you start with the temples and you move to the jaws, then you may want to come to the neck, to the base of the skull, to the shoulders, to the arms, to the torso. Work your way down the body. Every exhale, let yourself relax a little bit more. And we'll do about 5 minutes. I'm going to sit here and be quiet so that you guys can concentrate and pay attention to your own feelings and what's going on in your body. am hoping that you have managed to find some sort of relaxation. You've melted into your mats. And let's take your next breath a little deeper and follow it with a very slow, long exhale. And when you're ready to move, you can slowly and gently come up to a seated position. And I want to thank you all for coming. Hands together. Namaste.